Today I'm going to try to rebuild the Tennessee Titans to win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years. In the last video, I was able to rebuild the Texans and we won a Super Bowl in Season 5. Let's see if I can replicate that today. Before we take a look at the roster, here is the offense and the defensive scheme and playbooks we are running. The spread offense with Tampa Bay's playbook has given me some pretty good success so far. And today I will be trying the Titans playbook to see if they are cursed in simulation or not. But the main point of this rebuild is we are not going to be using Ryan Tannehill. We are going to be using Malik Willis. He is a scheme fit for this, and he is a 69 overall normal dev trait. I'm kind of shocked they did not give him a star dev trait, but we will be using him. But what does that mean for Ryan Tannehill? That means we are trading him back to Miami, and we are getting Teddy Bridgewater and a first round pick. Now that we've taken care of that, the rest of the offense, we have Robert Woods, who is an 86 overall star depth trait. I believe he is coming off of an injury though. And we have Treylon Burks, the receiver they took in the first round after trading AJ Brown to Philadelphia. The offensive line does need a couple pieces. They don't have a great right tackle and they don't have a great left guard. The defense does have some nice pieces here like Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, and Kevin Byard, but obviously we need like some middle linebackers, maybe an outside linebacker, a defensive tackle, and another edge rusher. And here will be the scouts I am starting with. This is actually the Tennessee default scouting team, and I honestly don't hate it. But now with all that out of the way, let's jump to the end of the season and see where we stand. So at the end of the season, we are 7-10, but we are second in the division, but it was not a very strong division apparently. Indianapolis finishes 13-4. We finished as the 24th offense in points per game and the 20th defense. Okay, so it looks like at one point Malik Willis got injured and then Teddy Bridgewater got to take over. He throws 21 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Malik Willis throws 9 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. On the ground, Derrick Henry only ran for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Receiving, Robert Woods caught 110 passes for 1,300 yards and 8 scores. And Westbrook Akeen, I think that might be how you say his name, I could be doing it wrong, but 962 yards and 7 touchdowns, and Treylon Burks caught 8 touchdowns as a rookie. David Long led the team in tackles with 112, and sacks goes to Harold Landry with 12, and Jeffrey Simmons got 10, and interceptions, Amani Hooker got 2. Tom Brady throws for almost 5,900 yards, 56 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions in his 23rd year in the league. Obviously, all of that was good to lead the league, except for interceptions was Trevor Lawrence with 25, but he did throw 52 touchdowns. Let's see what happened on the ground. Christian McCaffrey ran for 1,600 yards, and leading the league is Joe Mixon with 22 touchdowns. And receiving, this simulation stuff is really broken right now. I hope EA fixes it. Cooper Kupp with 156 catches, 2,200 yards, and 17 touchdowns. But leading the league was Christian Kirk with 23 touchdowns. JOK leads the league in tackles for the Browns. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I have no idea how to. And sacks, that goes to Aaron Donald with 20.5, and interceptions goes to JC Jackson with 6. And it looks like the first Super Bowl in this video will be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. So Andy Reid gets to take on his former team in the Super Bowl. And Andy Reid gets the win in the Super Bowl 35-27. In this re-signing period, I am letting a few people walk, like quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. I'm going to try to bring in someone that's a lower overall than Malik Willis. That way he doesn't get replaced again. I did bring back Amani Hooker, who you don't see here, but Austin Hooper didn't want to sign, Nate Davis didn't want to sign, and I don't think I tried to sign anyone else. And before we get into free agency, I do want to show you guys that we have the number 9 pick in the draft, and it looks like the trade to Miami got us the number 25 pick. Here are the 5 offers that I've thrown out in this free agency. Dawson Knox, Mecole Hardman, Eric McCoy, Devin Bush, and David Edwards. Trying to kind of improve our O-line here in free agency. Also get Malik Willis a couple weapons, and let's see how many offers we get. This does make a little bit of sense. Eric McCoy chose to go to the Jets. He really had low interest in us. I was just trying to get a center that actually fit our scheme. But none of our guys actually signed their contract either. Dawson Knox is still here, Mecole Hardman, Devin Bush, and David Edwards. The only offer I've now added here is Matt Paradis. I hope I'm saying that last name right, but hopefully we land someone here. Okay, so it looks like we get Dawson Knox, Mecole Hardman, David Edwards, and Matt Paradis. So we lost out on, it looks like, on Devin Bush. And the only other contracts I have offered are Jack Fox and Taylor Heineke, so let's see if they take their offers. Well, we landed Jack Fox, but it looks like Heineke is still waiting, so we have to advance now to stage 2 to see if he will take it then. So actually, before I jumped to stage 2, I went ahead and looked through and I found Elkton Jenkins. I don't know if I said his name right at all. He has very low interest in us, but I've offered him a bit of money to come in and be our right tackle. He doesn't fit our scheme, but we definitely need help on the O-line. And we actually managed to land Jenkins. We also got Taylor Heineke, so this is our free agent class. Not a flashy free agency class, but hopefully enough to help our team get a little bit better. And now we are here at the first draft of this rebuild, and the Seahawks have the number 1 pick. Let's see who they take. They're going to take quarterback Dom Cameron out of Indiana State. So I was looking through all of the draft picks here, and I really don't feel like there is any that are worth the 9th overall pick. I could be wrong. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this trade with Miami to get a 1, 2, and a 3 for next season. I am curious as to who they will take with this pick, so let's go ahead and advance past it. And the Dolphins take defensive back John Holloway. And here with the 25th pick in the first round, we're going to take defensive tackle Josh Sanchez out of South Carolina. And please have a hidden depth trait. It is a normal depth trait, but he is a scheme fit. And now here in the second round, our 9th pick is going to be center Eddie Campbell, and he should be pretty good. He is a hidden depth trait, so we at least land 1 hidden depth trait in this class. This guy here might be kind of a risk, but I think we're going to take right guard Chauncey Schaefer here in the third round. That pass block scares me. It could be anything from a C to an F. We're going to hope it's on the high side here, and he is a normal depth trait, and we're going to hope I did not just miss that pick massively. Alright, so not my best draft class. Josh Sanchez is a 76 overall with a normal depth trait. Eddie Campbell had a hidden depth trait. He's a 70 overall. Chauncey Schaefer, I did kind of miss on that pick. And then if you've never watched my other rebuilds, what I do is I pick the first 3 rounds and then I let the CPU draft the rest. But they took a free safety in the 5th round. That's a 66 overall and a 66 overall linebacker in the 7th. Here is our offense going into season 2. Malik Willis is now a 72 overall, still a normal depth trait, and I will be starting Campbell over Paradis. And then on defense, Josh Sanchez is getting the start at defensive tackle, and I don't think we really changed much else over here. Last season we went 7-10. Let's hope we improve this year. This time the division was a pretty tight race. Everyone either went 9-8 or 8-9, but it does look like we missed the playoffs again. We finished as the 16th offense in points per game and the 28th defense in points per game. Malik Willis threw for 4,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. On the ground, Derrick Henry ran in for 18 touchdowns. Hey, look at that. Some quarterbacks actually get rushing stats now. I don't think that's realistic to what his rushing numbers will be, but also Hassan Haskins got 10 rushing touchdowns. And then through the air, Robert Woods, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. Traylon Burks, 1,107 touchdowns. McCole Hardman, his first year in Tennessee, goes for almost 900 yards and 6 touchdowns. Zach Cunningham led the team in tackles with 146, and sacks that goes to Jeffrey Simmons with 13 and Harold Landry with 10, and interceptions, Christian Fulton actually got 6 of them. Josh Allen threw for 5,800 yards, 45 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. Andrew Robbins, an auto-generated rookie that the Buccaneers took, threw for 5,500 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 12 picks in his very first season. On the ground, what happened? Najee Harris, 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns, and Joe Mixon once again led the league with 20 of them. Receiving, of course, it's Cooper Kupp. At least he didn't break 2,000 yards again. And how many touchdowns? Jarvis Landry with 17 led the league. Devin White led the league in tackles with 158, and sacks goes to Von Miller, and interceptions, it's a 3-way tie between Jamel Dean, Christian Fulton, and Marshawn Lattimore. And the second Super Bowl in this series is between the Chargers and the Giants, who are the 1 seed. I was curious as to how the Giants got so good so fast, and Kurt Hendricks, a rookie quarterback they took in the last draft, has apparently led them all the way to a Super Bowl appearance. And then the rookie quarterback Kurt Hendricks leads them to a Super Bowl win, 35-28 over Herbert and the Chargers. Alright, before we start this re-signing period, there are a couple huge contracts available. Christian Fulton, Jeffrey Simmons, and Derrick Henry are all up for new deals. I was able to bring back Fulton and Jeffrey Simmons, but Derrick Henry wants to test free agency, so we may be moving on from Derrick Henry. We have $53 million in cap heading into this free agency period. And the biggest thing apparently is his motivations. He is in a Super Bowl chase motivation, which is impacting his motivation a lot, and he has no interest in coming back to Tennessee. And we managed to land Marquise Brown, J.K. Dobbins, and Miles Jack. So we have our new running back, we have a new receiver because Robert Woods is starting to decline, and the only person that hasn't signed yet is Jonah Williams. And in the next stage, Jonah Williams actually does sign, so we're only going to bring in 4 people this year. Yes, it was some pretty decent sized contracts, so I did burn through a good chunk of our cap, but I'm going to try to make at least one trade to free up some cap space. All right, looking at our cap space situation, Bud Dupree would be a $12 million savings, and Robert Woods would be an $11 million savings. Robert Woods is now starting to decline. We got Marquise Brown to replace him, but Bud Dupree is a 69 overall linebacker. I am definitely trading him. So I don't even care that this is an interdivisional trade. I am sending Bud Dupree to the Texans for a 5th round pick. And we have sent Robert Woods to Chicago for a 2nd round pick. So in case anyone was curious, Derrick Henry has signed with the Raiders. And the only player I have targeted here is going to be Justin Tucker to get ourselves a new kicker. And let's see if he has signed. He has not. So we'll advance to stage 2 to see if he accepts it. And here in stage 2, Justin Tucker does sign, so we now have ourselves a kicker. There are some big names available. I guess that's something that EA is trying to work on. But Justin Jefferson is available here with 0 teams interested apparently. Justin Herbert was also available in free agency, and it looks like he is now a Steeler. And here are all the picks that I will be making. We have 2 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and 2 third-round picks. Will I keep all of those? I have no idea, but Miami does give us a top 10 pick. All right, let's see who the Raiders take with the first pick in the draft, and then we will jump to our pick. The Las Vegas Raiders will take Jacob Costanzo, a quarterback out of North Texas, so they are moving on from Derek Carr. And here with the 10th pick, I'm looking at Earl Edison out of Notre Dame. He has A pursuit and B tackle. His block shedding is anywhere from a B to a D, and his zone coverage is from C to an F, but we're going to hope those are on the high side here, and Earl Edison does have a hidden dev trade. To me, this is pretty interesting. Bruce Hackett is a projected top 5 pick. He is a quarterback, and he has fallen all the way to pick 16. I'm not going to take him considering the main point of this rebuild is to use Malik Willis, but it's nice to see guys can fall in the draft again. And with the 16th pick in the draft, I'm looking at Ladarius Copper, a defensive back out of LSU, B catching, B man coverage, C press, and B to D zone, and he's decently fast. He ran a 4.42 at the combine, which was good for 7th in his class. So let's take Ladarius Copper, and he has a hidden dev trade. And now with the 9th pick here in the 2nd round, we actually have picks 9 and 10. I'm going to take Sean Sheed out of Notre Dame, B block shedding, C pursuit, B to D tackle, but he is the fastest linebacker in his class, so we will take him, and he also has a hidden dev trade. I know we're pretty stacked at receiver, but with pick 10 here in the 2nd round, I'm looking at D'Angelo Henson, a receiver out of Boston College with A catching traffic, B catching. His route running isn't great, but he is one of these story players because he apparently did not go to the combine. So we're going to take D'Angelo Henson, and he is a hidden dev trade. And now with pick 16 here in the 2nd round, which is actually our pick, I'm looking at left end Junior Rutherford out of West Virginia. He has C block shedding, D finesse move, but he has B power move and A to C tackle. So far, we are 4 of 4 of drafting players with hidden dev traits. Can we go 5 for 5? And yes, we do. And now here in the 3rd round with pick 10, which is the final pick we have from Miami, we're going to take right guard Elton Shields out of Arizona State. A to C awareness, A impact, B pass block, and B run block. And Elton Shields will also have a hidden dev trait. And here I'm going to take another right guard, this one out of Florida. We only have 1 left guard on the roster right now, so he will back up him, but we'll take Cordell McNair, and he will not be a hidden dev trait. So we go 6 of 7. I feel like that's pretty good. I would say I did pretty good on this draft class. Earl Edison's a 75 with a hidden dev trait. Ladarius Copper is a 76 with a hidden dev trait. Sean Sheed's a 72 with a hidden dev trait. D'Angelo Henson's a 74 with 1. Junior Rutherford's a 74 with a hidden dev trait. And Elton Shields, I think, was the first player that no, actually, Elton Shields had one. Cordell McNair did not have one. And let's see how the CPU did. They took a running back in the 4th at 68, a 67 outside linebacker, a 65 tight end, a 68 strong safety, and a 68 running back. But here is the starting roster going into Season 3. Malik Willis is now a 75 overall normal dev trait. We really need him to have one of those big years that can get him to a star or even a superstar if possible, because I don't know if a 75 overall quarterback is actually going to be enough to win the Super Bowl. We also have J.K. Dobbins now at running back and Marquise Brown at receiver alongside McCole Hardman, and I put D'Angelo Henson as our number 3 receiver so we can figure out exactly what his dev trait will be, and then Shields is obviously starting at right guard. On the defensive side of the ball, we will be starting Rutherford at left end, so we get his dev trait. Sheed will be starting for the first few weeks because Miles Jack, the guy we just signed, has a torn rotator cuff and will miss the first 9 weeks of the season. Edison is also starting at outside linebacker, and it looks like the CPU drafted another hidden dev trait safety later in the draft. So we had one hell of a draft in terms of depth traits, and then Ladarius Copper will be starting over here in like the slot corner spot. I feel like I built a pretty decent team here heading into Season 3, so let's see if we can finally get to the playoffs. And we do finally manage to get into the playoffs. We don't win the division, but we go 10-7 and sneak in as a wild card. If this season doesn't send Malik Willis into a star depth trait, I don't know what will. 5,200 yards, nearly 43 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. On the ground, J.K. Dobbins ran for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. What about receiving? McCole Hardman with 102 receptions for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns. Marquise Brown is the one with 10 touchdowns and 1,200 yards. And Traylon Burks, 1086 and 7 touchdowns. What about our rookie? D'Angelo Henson only caught 2 passes for 22 yards, but one of them was a touchdown. I'm going to assume the game probably reworked the depth chart a little bit. Leading the team in tackles is Zach Cunningham with 126, and sacks goes to Harold Landry with 17.5, but Jeffrey Simmons also got 13.5, and interceptions, Caleb Fairley got 3. Joe Burrow throws for almost 5,800 yards, 51 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. The 51 touchdowns will also lead the league, and interceptions goes to Desmond Ridder with 17. On the ground, Jonathan Taylor ran for 1,900, and Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon both ran for 21 touchdowns. That's the 3rd year in a row Mixon has ran for like 20 scores at least. And receiving, Keenan Allen caught 122 passes for 1,700 yards and 17 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp 112 and 19 touchdowns. Who led the league there? That would be Cooper Kupp. Devin White once again led the league in tackles with 153, and sacks goes to Von Miller with 19.5, and interceptions, Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey both got 5. And at the bottom of the screen here, you can see that we finished as the 6th best offense in points per game and the 19th best defense. But now let's see if we can win a playoff game and get out of the wildcard round here in Season 3. And we do not get out of the wildcard round. We fall to the Colts 24-7. And the 3rd Super Bowl here in this rebuild will be between the Broncos and the Cowboys. But the Broncos win the Super Bowl 37-30. So with this re-signing period, Kevin Byard's re-sign interest is incredibly low, so I didn't even offer him a contract. We're going to see if there's anyone in free agency that is better, but we may bring back Kevin Byard. Jack Fox also refused our contract, so we will also have to look for a new punter. Zach Cunningham is also leaving. Yes, he's led the team in tackles the last couple years, but we just drafted the rookie last year with the hidden depth trade, and we have Miles Jack, who will hopefully be healthy next season, so we're going to let him leave too. Okay, and I've thrown out a few offers here. I doubt Kevin Byard is going to take that, but we also threw a contract to Jack Fox, and the only new player here is Brevin Jordan. And we do manage to land Jack Fox and Brevin Jordan, but I'm going to have to go into a negotiating war for Kevin Byard. So I've upped his offer, and we're going to go ahead and click eval offers now, and hopefully he comes back to us. And just like that, the Jets have come in and offered a lot more apparently. It's going to be hard to get him because his interest is so low. And even offering the player-friendly deal, we don't get him back, so we're just going to withdraw from Kevin Byard, save the cap space, and we're going to go see if there's a cheaper one available. And I'm not really seeing anyone here that I'd actually want to bring in. No one's even a scheme fit. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait and see if I can get someone in the draft. It's going to be pretty risky, and we may go into the season with a pretty bad free safety. And it looks like Seattle is back in the number 1 pick spot, so the first round pick probably didn't work out too well a few years ago. But let's go and advance past their pick, and then we'll see who they take, and then we're going to jump right to pick 23. They take Monte Thomas. And here with pick 23, we have a free safety on the board that is projected to go around this area with B hit power, B to D man, B to D tackle, and A to C zone, and he is the fastest safety in his class. We're going to take Alex Foote with a hidden depth trait. And we only have one center on the roster, so here in the second round, I'm going to take Jimmy Felix out of Clemson, and he is going to have a hidden depth trait as well. And then with the final pick that I will make in this draft, left guard Luke Barkley out of USC. This is a bit earlier than he's supposed to be going, but we're going to take him anyway. He has a normal depth trait. So not as good as the last draft class, but I don't feel like I did bad. Alex Foote's a 74 overall with a hidden depth trait. He will most likely start immediately at free safety, as he also has the player tag of day 1 starter. And then we got Jimmy Felix, who will probably just be a backup, but he's already a 75 overall, so we'll have to see what our other center is. Luke Barkley, not a great pick, 66 overall. Actually, was one of the worst players in our class, as the CPU took a tight end, a right end, and a strong safety that were all 68 overall, and then took a center in the 7th round that's a 63. As we get ready to kick off Season 4, Malik Willis is now a 78 overall and is now a star dev trade after that last season. Dawson Knox is now a superstar dev trade. If he was last season, I just missed that, I apologize. And here is the starting defense. One thing to notice though is Jeffrey Simmons is injured and he will be out for at least one more week, so we'll get him back pretty early in the simulation, so it shouldn't affect the defense too much. Last season we went 10-7, got in as a wildcard team but got bounced in the first round, so the goal this year is to at least win one playoff game. Okay, we actually took a step back. We go 7-10 and completely missed the playoffs. The defense was 5th in points per game, but the offense was 27th. Malik Willis throws for 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 18 picks, so he took a step back as well. On the ground, J.K. Dobbins ran for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. Receiving, McCole Hardman had 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. Marquise Brown got 3 and 1,000 yards. And Treylon Burks 883 and 7 touchdowns. Miles Jack led the team in tackles with 139. In sacks is Harold Landry and Jeffrey Simmons with 12.5 and 11.5. And in interceptions, Ladarius Copper got 3. Burrow throws for 5,800 yards, 53 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. That 53 would lead the league. But Carson Sands, a rookie quarterback over in LA for the Chargers, throws 49 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. And leading the league was Bruce Hackett with 22 of them. Running the ball, Christian McCaffrey ran for almost 1,900 yards and 20 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette got 21 and Nick Chubb got 21. And receiving, Keenan Allen, 137 catches, 1,800 yards, almost 1,900, and 20 touchdowns. Chris Godwin with 26 receiving touchdowns. Okay, I've said this in my Texans franchise rebuild that I did, I think, yesterday as of recording this. They've got to tune some of this stuff. 26 touchdowns is ridiculous. Kaiser White leads the league in tackles with 156. In sacks, that goes to Chase Young. And Nick Bosa with 17.5. And interceptions, Pete Werner got 7. And the 4th Super Bowl in this rebuild is the Panthers and the Ravens. And the Ravens pick up the win in the Super Bowl 31-7. Alright, so this rebuild just got a little interesting. Justin Tucker did not re-sign my contract. That's not what made it interesting. Treylon Burks is going to walk. We are pretty deep at receiver, and I think I could probably get one in free agency to replace him, so I'm not super worried about that. What I am worried about is Malik Willis refused to sign my contract. So we're going to go to free agency. We're going to see what other quarterbacks are available. If Malik Willis is not the best quarterback I think that can win us a Super Bowl here in the 5th season, we're not going to bring him back. Well, the quarterback market is honestly pretty dry here, so we may have to bring back Malik Willis. And here are the contracts that I have thrown out here. Justin Tucker to try to get him back. Jameson Williams was in free agency and is a scheme fit, so that will be our replacement for Treylon Burks. Grover Stewart was in free agency. I don't know if he would start, but he would be good depth at defensive tackle. And then, of course, Malik Willis, who we are competing with Washington for. And we managed to land Justin Tucker, Jameson Williams, and Grover Stewart. Let's take a look at Malik Willis. There is now a ton of offers for him. Okay, here's the base for a very player-friendly contract. We're going to up that. So we're going to go above and beyond for this man to try to get him back, since the whole point of this rebuild video is to use Malik Willis. And let's see where we stand now. We are down to 4th. Alright, I don't think we moved at all. We're going to click eval offers, and we're going to see if we get Malik Willis back or if I'm going to be hunting for a new quarterback. And Malik Willis has decided to sign with a division rival. He has gone to Houston. We also lost out on Russell Wilson, who is now signed with Indianapolis. That's really what I was afraid of, is losing the top 2 quarterbacks in this free agency class. Okay, I think I have a plan, but just in case my plan doesn't work, we need a quarterback. So I've offered a contract to Jameis Winston, and he has signed it. Here is the first part of my plan. I have traded right guard Schaefer, our 1st round pick this year, which was pick 7, and a 2nd round pick next year to the Rams for the number 1 pick in the draft. And now that we own the number 1 pick in the draft, I'm going to take quarterback Joe Samuel out of California. He has A, deep accuracy, A, medium, B, short, and A, under pressure. We're going to take him and go for it all here. He does have a hidden depth trait and 97 throw power. And now I've simulated to the 2nd round, and quarterback Garrett Winkler has fallen all the way down here. He was a projected top 5 pick. I really do like that these guys can fall now. So there seems to be a new feature on trading that I actually just discovered in the middle of this video, which was clicking get offers for players, and then it showed up and I was like, all right, cool, a 2 and a 3 for Jordan Brooks. I'll do that. And then I was going to tell you guys whenever it showed the trade screen, but apparently doesn't show it then. So we traded a second and a third round pick to the Bears for Jordan Brooks. Quarterback Joe Samuel comes in as an 81 overall with a franchise QB player tag already. And then as I showed you guys, I traded our second and third round pick, so I let the CPU draft the rest. They got a 68 overall left end, a 66 overall left tackle, a 65 overall corner, and a 64 overall outside linebacker. And yeah, quarterback Joe Samuel was the best player in the draft at an 81 overall. Now headed into Season 5, Joe Samuel is our quarterback, and he's immediately better than Malik Willis. Malik Willis left at an 80 overall. This man comes in as an 81 with a hidden dev trait. I am very excited about that, and I kind of wish this was going more past 5 seasons, but here's the starting defense. But this will be the final season in this rebuild. We drafted a rookie quarterback, and now he's got to try to lead us to a Super Bowl for this to be a success. Let's go ahead and jump to the end of the season and see if we can at least make the playoffs, unlike last year. And we finished this season 13-4 and earned the bye week. And in his rookie season, quarterback Joe Samuel throws for 5,500 yards, 45 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. On the ground, J.K. Dobbins ran for 8 touchdowns, and through the air, Mecole Hardman with 132 receptions, 1,800 yards, and 20 touchdowns. Dawson Knox also caught 12. Miles Jack leads the team in tackles with 153, and sacks, that goes to Junior Rutherford with 10.5, and interceptions goes to Miles Jack with 6. Dak Prescott throws for 5,600 yards, 48 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And leading the league in touchdown passes is Josh Allen, and leading the league in picks is Rob Samuel. That was one of the other rookies that we could have drafted. Running the ball, Najee Harris, who is now a Patriot, ran for 1,594 yards, and Austin Eckler ran for 22 touchdowns. Receiving, Mecole Hardman led the league in receptions with 132, also led it in yards and touchdowns, so Mecole Hardman captures the triple crown here. And Miles Jack leads the league in tackles. In sacks, that goes to Aaron Donald, who is in Buffalo with 24 sacks, and interceptions goes to Pat Surtain and Miles Jack, who both got 6. And now in the divisional round of the playoffs, we will take on the Kansas City Chiefs. But real fast, I want to look at our team rankings. We were the number 2 offense in points per game and the number 1 defense in points per game. So this is by far the best team I think I've built so far in this game. Granted, I've only done now 2 rebuilds, but anyway, let's simulate past the divisional round and see if we can keep our hopes alive of getting a Super Bowl. And our hopes do not stay alive. We get bounced by the Chiefs 38-17. And the 5th and final Super Bowl in this video will be between 2 7 seeds, the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the 5th and final Super Bowl here in this rebuild goes to the Saints 26-21, led by quarterback Desmond Ridder. I would definitely say we landed a home run with this draft pick. Joe Samuel is a 94 overall X Factor at the end of his rookie season. So yes, this rebuild is considered a failure, but I feel like I set the Titans up for a pretty decent future. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.